I'm traveling over 8,000 miles through 24 states over 3 weeks only using Amtrak.
Well, today's the day. The sun is surprisingly shining in Seattle, and it's also the day I head out along Amtrak's famous Empire Builder. I had some time to kill in Seattle today, so I decided to head back by Pike Place in downtown, and also do some snack shopping there before the long 50-hour journey across the country, from Seattle, Washington to Chicago, Illinois. In the late afternoon, I started making my way back towards King Street Station. I stopped by to pick up a sandwich for the long journey, since I would be eating exclusively Amtrak food for the next 2 days. And once again, I'm able to bask in the wonder of King Street Station while I wait for my train. Traveling by train, you get to see some absolutely amazing train stations like King Street Station that really highlight when taking the train was the main mode to travel across the country. Anyways, after waiting in the station due to a mechanical delay, we were walked out to the platform to begin boarding. The Empire Builder started out a lot differently than my last 2 trains, and in a good way. This train was maybe at about 20% capacity taking out of Seattle, and this was very refreshing compared to my last 2 journeys where the trains were absolutely jam-packed. The views at the start of this trip are absolutely incredible. Leaving Seattle, you get amazing views of the Puget Sound. After rolling along the Puget Sound for about an hour and a half, we reached the city of Everett, Washington, and turned away from the coast and towards the interiors of the Northern Cascades. Around 9 o'clock when the sun was setting, I decided to eat some dinner, but I also felt like getting a Coke and some snacks. One thing about the Empire Builder, which is pretty important, is that the train joins together going east and splits going west in Spokane. The dining car goes north to Seattle while the cafe car goes south to Portland. So just be aware that you won't have a cafe to go to if you're going to Seattle. However, the dining car will have a limited cafe menu. It's one of the goofiest Amtrak long distance things, however, it's for a pretty short amount of the eastbound trip, so it's not the end of the world. Being this far north as well, you also get a great advantage of having daylight for a long portion of the day. The sun really didn't set until 9:30, which meant I got amazing views of the Northern Cascades in eastern Washington through this trip. However, after 9:30, the sun had set, I was very tired from a long day, and I decided to catch some sleep. I woke up the next morning surprisingly well rested with only one small interruption of the 2 trains joining together in Spokane. It was a really good night's sleep, and I figured I'd get some coffee as I woke up in northern Montana, and we were approaching one of the most beautiful places in North America, Glacier National Park. Today was really a day of meeting great people on board the train. After we passed Glacier, around 10 in the morning, we entered the part of Montana known as Big Sky Country, which is mostly rolling hills that truly feel endless. So today was a day of talking to people on the train, having some food and drink, and just enjoying the vibes that make train travel truly amazing. And of course, it wouldn't be a long-distance Amtrak trip without a little bit of drama. When we were pulling out of one of the stations in Montana, we actually ended up leaving 2 people behind because they wandered too far from the train. This is a really good reminder to really not leave the platform during a fresh air break, because if the conductor doesn't see you out there, they're gonna leave you behind. Getting later in the day chatting with some of the people on the train, I was actually getting excited for one thing. One of the people who I was talking to on board said that he was willing to pay for my dinner on board in the dining car. I'm not one to pass up on someone's generosity, so I graciously accepted the offer. Also, this was a great excuse to not have Amtrak's cafe menu. Now, I have had Amtrak's dining car food before on previous Amtrak trips, but in the past year, Amtrak had decided to change up their menu, so I wanted to see how it tasted, and it was definitely better than I remembered it. Now, dinner in Amtrak's dining car is a 3-course meal consisting of an appetizer, a main dish, and a dessert. You can also get an alcoholic beverage for free or unlimited non-alcoholic beverages. For the appetizers, I ordered caprese skewers. They were actually surprisingly better than I expected, and for the main course, I chose the iconic Amtrak steak. And while the steak is not going to be as good as your top-tier steakhouses, it's definitely very enjoyable in the formal setting of the dining car with great views during the sunset. After dinner, I decided to have a few extra drinks with some of the new friends I made on board, watching the train pass by the fracking fields of North Dakota as we made our way eastward into the Midwest. The final day of the Empire was really a true test of my patience. Waking up right in Fargo, North Dakota, I knew today was going to be long. We had been delayed almost 2 hours last night while I was asleep, and that meant I wouldn't be getting into Chicago until 7 that evening. This was also where the views wouldn't be quite as stunning, as we would be passing through Minnesota and Wisconsin. However, passing through Minnesota meant we would be stopping in our first real city since we left Seattle, that being the Twin Cities area. The train definitely saw a lot of new passengers who were heading to Milwaukee or Chicago today, so oddly the train had more of a regional train feeling than it did a long distance. Either way, the seat next to me was empty the whole way, except for the one time some random guy from the sleeper room wanted to see how the coach seats were, and I can tell you from experience, it's a definite downgrade. On this last day, heading east, we crossed over the Mississippi River and into Wisconsin, meaning we only had one more state to cross before I ended the longest segment of my trip. Wisconsin to me isn't much of a standout state, but it does have its charm passing through small towns and the Wisconsin Dells, which any Midwesterner can tell you is the water park capital of the world. After rolling all day through rural Minnesota and Wisconsin, we finally entered the Milwaukee area, meaning we were only a little over an hour away from Chicago, or so I thought, as when we got close enough to Chicago, we started getting delayed by all the rush hour metro trains since they had no tracks for us to pass on. And after 53 hours on board due to 3 hours of delays, we finally rolled into the asthma-inducing platforms of Chicago's Union Station. The platforms are definitely the low light of Chicago's Union Station, being a confined area with a whole bunch of diesel smoke. But the real standout at Union Station is the Great Hall, which is a real monument to rail travel in America. But at the moment, I had no time to check this out, as I needed to run to catch a commuter train to the Chicago suburbs in a completely different station. I sprinted 3 blocks north up to Chicago's Ogilvie Station to catch a metro train westbound to where I was staying. And after a 40-minute ride on that one, I was finally able to see some of my family, get a good dinner, and catch some sleep in an actual bed. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to support the channel, please like, comment, and subscribe. Follow me on my other social medias, links down below. And if you'd like to support me on Patreon or buy my merch, the links are down below as well. Thank you so much for watching, and have a good one.